Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
And we're here with young Hua Gung, and you don't mind if I call you Kevin?
No, not at all.
Kevin's much easier for me. We're here in the TESOL Asia complex and in the TESOL FM studio here in Clark Pampanga. Kevin's from Bright Education Group, a large education group in Kunming, China, which is in the southwestern part of China. And I'd like to talk to Kevin about job opportunities for Filipino teachers. So Kevin, qualified Filipinos can come to China and work legally as TESOL teachers, English teachers?
Yes, of course. For the Chinese market, I mean especially for the English training market, there's a huge demand for native English speaker teachers, including Filipino teachers. As far as my experience is concerned, such institutions as private kindergartens, private schools, and also private English training schools, they all need all kinds of English native speakers. So
including Filipino?
Including, yes.
Because the English in the Philippines is as good as Australia, America, for example.
Right. So as long as the teachers can speak fluent English, I think they can always find jobs in China. Well, the only difference is that is in the locations. So I think nowadays the educational industry, as I use the sort of Chinese word for describing the education, we call it education industry, requires a large number, actually increasingly large number of English teachers, especially professional English teachers, to come to China to teach in those private schools and private English training centers. I know that some private kindergartens that are in urgent need of all kinds of fluent English speakers as teachers, such as teachers from the Philippines. So
what sort of qualifications would the schools be looking for? Or in your company as well, you're a large company. What sort of qualifications would you be expecting?
Normally, for a qualified applicant, we are looking at the following criteria. The number one is whether the applicant is TESOL certified or not.
Right.
That's the number one precondition during a screening process. The number two so-called qualification or precondition is that whether the teacher has at least 1 year of teaching experience.
Some teachers, of course, entering the profession, they may have been to university and they've done a TESOL course, they're well qualified, but don't have that experience, of course. So they're not actually ruled out, they can still apply.
Yes, they still can apply, as I think the demand is huge, and I think I'm going to talk about the third precondition or third qualification, that is the work attitude and also the personality. That's some kind of subjective standard, but I think sometimes a applicant's work attitude or his determination or her determination to teach English is more important sometimes than his or her expertise in teaching or experience in teaching. So that's something we really take into consideration when we do the screening process here in China for teachers.
And I know that Filipinos are very, very warm-hearted. As a matter of fact, they make the best nurses, I can say this, they make the best nurses in Australia because they have that stronger caring attitude. And I know from the hundreds of teachers we've sent from TESOL Asia to other countries, including China. That's also a very important aspect, that sort of loving, caring attitude as such. And also I do have another question. What sort of conditions, what sort of contract conditions could they expect? Just generally, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very important question, I think. As far as my experience is concerned, recruiters in China, they normally offer the different, like the salary or benefit packages, depending on their locations, depending on the timing of the teachers arrival in China. I mean, they're starting to work in China. Well, on average, for the Filipino teachers, the starting salary is around $700 per month, plus free housing.
Free housing. $700 is about, I think off the top of my head, about 28,000 pesos.
That's about, yeah.
And what about, like, so free housing, free apartment, for example?
Free housing, round trip airfare from China to the Philippines, and the visa fees. That's the kind of so-called ballpark level.
It's a 1 year standard contract, 1 year?
1 year, at least 1 year. That's the minimum requirement by the National Foreign Export Bureau of China.
Right, and the visa is arranged before they leave, or it can be arranged before they leave the Philippines, or once they get to China. What do you know much about that?
Normally, the potential employer or employers are responsible for sponsoring the visa.
Right.
So that's prior to the teacher's arrival in China. Once the potential employer or the employer sends the invitation letter and get all the procedures done with the Foreign Export Bureau, and the applicant can apply for the visa. I mean, the applying teacher can apply for the visa in the Chinese consulate or embassy in the Philippines. Yeah.
I guess one of the problems, not a problem, one of the problems that teachers might have, there may be a lot of jobs advertised across China with different recruiters. I guess it's hard for them to know, you know, there are sometimes good jobs and sometimes there are jobs which are not good. Let's face it, that's a fact of life. It's always probably they're not certain. It's a new world for them. I mean, is there any suggestions on when applying for a job? Can, for example, they contact, example, Bright Education? You're a very reputable company in the southwest, a very large company in the southwest of China. I'm just looking for the safest mechanisms for teachers entering China.
Well, that's a very good question, I think. I mean, for the benefit of the applying teacher, I mean, in my experience, I think once a Chinese school, I mean, sort of sponsoring the visa for you, for a teacher, I mean, send the invitation letter to you, and they normally will sort of have the relevant paper work done in the Chinese embassy or consulate. And if they can send you the invitation letter, it is a formal invitation letter signed by the Foreign Export Bureau. So that's very important, because that's the proof validating their qualification and the legal status in China.
Right.
So you got to have the invitation letter from the potential employer first. So once you get a letter that, I mean, that basically rules out the possibility of a kind of scam,
Right.
or sort of unqualified employer.
Right.
So
Okay, that's good to know. So I guess, I mean, we're here in TESOL Asia with our new Pampanga campus of 30 hectares, which we've just toured around. World first. Obviously people can contact us on Facebook and we can sort of guide them and then contact you, I think, for more information. And there is quite a demand for teachers ongoing throughout China.
That's true. That's
From the far west to the east to the top of China and down to the bottom of Kunming.
Right, right. So, so Paul just mentioned another very important fact. That is that for the number of the English teachers in China, I mean, this number is rapidly increasing. As the Chinese students are, well, they are becoming more eager to grasp communicative skills in English, not just like the exam-oriented skills. So it's a trend taking place in China among the Chinese students. They want to grasp the real communicative English instead of just exam-based English, which has sort of dominated Chinese English education for almost 3 decades. This trend, well, is becoming basically more and more, evident among Chinese kids and teenagers. So, as far as my experience is concerned, well, I believe this is a very good sign and also a great opportunity for for SITE and the TESOL certification programs, as more and more teachers, they want to be professionally certified. So by a authoritative organization such as TESOL Asia of SITE.
Okay, thanks very much, Kevin. We've got to wrap it up. Our time's out, but that was very informative, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks very much.
My pleasure, Paul. Thank you.